What's the craziest / improbable dice roll you've ever seen? Once, the paladin in our group attacked the beg twice with advantage. He rolled 1,1 and then 1,3. Another time, in a different adventure actually, our bard cast shatter on a dozen kobolds. Every one of them failed their saving throw. It was a massacre. Kobolds have terrible constitution, so it's not surprising, but you could expect that at least one will save. Just last night my party, most of which are brand spanking new to the game, fought a cave fisher. They were having a really hard time until they figured out the half-dwarf was too heavy for the cave fisher to feel in, so they yanked on the filament to pull the thing off the ceiling, causing it to fall 60 feet, which was 66 damage. I rolled. My results were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We took a picture. I was DMing a Curse of Strahd game, and our paladin polymorphed into a giant ape went to throw a barrel of oil at a tower already aflame. Nat 20. Our monk was beside him, providing assistance almost as a spotter for the throw. Nat 20. Our sorcerer shot the barrel with a firebolt when it entered the tower window. Nat 20. Not in a game of D&D, but I was once present when a flipped coin landed on its edge. There was a $1 bet riding on it, and it was ruled that as the caller had called heads, or tails, I don't remember which, and the edge was not heads, the other guy won that bet. In my game our halfling druid was attacking an ogre. Rolled 2 attacks, natural ones. Use halfling luck on one of these rolls. Natural 1. I'd what the chances of that happening are, but it was hilarious. Cheers. Probability of successive independent events is equal to the product of probabilities for individual events. Given that dice rolls are independent, one roll doesn't affect the result of future rolls, although we all know better, and probability to land a particular number is 1 over the total number of faces, 20 here. The probability of rolling double ones on 2d20 rolls is 120 by 120, or 1/400. That's my math crash course for the day. First round of the first combat of my first campaign, my knight issues a knight's challenge and charges into the fray to protect the druid. He attacks, and I roll a 1. The DM asks for a D% roll for a fumble. I roll a 1. Unconscious for the rest of the fight. Probability of the rolls, 0.0005, 1 in 2000. Years ago we had a D100 rolled if someone critically missed. On a 1, nothing happens. 50, you hit an ally. 100, roll again. Double the outcome. If 100 again, instant death. I rolls instant death twice in 1 year, and we never touched the D100 or used the outcome chart again. We were doing one of those you should not win encounters in our last session. We weren't under attack so much as it was some enemies trying to smash and grab a newly acquired relic of ours. Our rogue hit 24 on a 4d6 roll. 4 6s. On his very next roll, 4 damage. 4 1s. My group is populated by very enthusiastic but very busy players. There's 3 out of 6 total player characters that are unmarried, myself included, and we usually make up the core of our group, plus our DM/host. And even he will occasionally have to postpone due to familial obligations. No big deal, we're just stoked to play when we can. Cut to the last session of 2016, coincidentally also the last Friday of the year. I had actually been the one to have missed a few sessions. Usually, our DM explains away players being absent by having the player character being separated due to whatever baddie is trying to exert control over us. This is never hard to do as we're currently trying to find our way to the surface from the Underdark. So, there I am wandering through some dark tunnels, completely bewildered and wondering not only where my friends were but why my head hurt so bad. Asshole grey dwarves, when I hear it. The clang of weapons amid the roar of flames and monster. I sprinted towards the sounds and entered the rear of a large open chamber where my party was getting their shit thoroughly kicked in by a young dragon. Our rogue had already been devoured whole, and the rest of them were taking heavy damage. Now, as a side note, this is my first ever campaign and I've been trying to make the most of it. Attempting feats of elven grace with my half-elf ranger makes sessions interesting for me. When they go well, they go spectacularly well with my character wall running around the bend of a cave to execute a fleeing goblin with a falling thrust. When they go wrong, they go embarrassingly wrong with a failed flying knee ends with him getting boxed the fuck up by a skeleton. By this session, it had not gone well for me in a few months, since before my unplanned hiatus. I contemplated out loud performing just the standard attack, while mentioning just going for broke. Either way, we were probably dead. Nothing was getting through the dragon's hide, and the mage's magic was having a limited effect. I looked up and our warrior gave me a thumbs up and that was all that I needed. That or, like, the 4 beers I had had already. I sprang into action. I chose to elven grace that motherfucker up by dashing straight up his tail as fast and lightly as I could manage. Once I reached the beast's shoulder blades I leapt up and drove into the base of that draconian dick's skull with my +1 long sword, Talon. I rolled a 20 for the tail running and a 19 to hit. Another 20 for damage and I was God's gift to the game. Then our DM asks me to roll a strength check. This asshole dragon was not only still alive, but he was going to try and buck me off. The D20 almost slipped from my fingers, I was so nervous. But when it came up I knew this was the highlight of my DND playing career. See below. Great story, is that the same Talon from Lamop? I have no idea what that is, but I would assume no? Ha ha ha. We found it on some mini-boss, I think. I believe there's a +1 longsword called Talon in the starter campaign, Lost Mine of Phandelver, Lamop. It's found in a crevasse with a Nothic. Sound familiar? I was playing last week and decided to recklessly attack with my barbarian, giving me adverb, and anyone attacking the adverb. My first roll landed on 1. Well, I'm glad I decided to reckless attack. Next roll was a nat 20. The room erupted. As a basically non-player, did you splatter something or get splattered? Splattered something. Basically, reckless attack lets you have advantage on your attack, roll twice, take the highest. Had I not decided to do that, I would have missed so bad that I probably would have thrown my axe across the field. Instead I splattered my enemy onto the ground. Not DND, Savage Worlds. I had to make a DC 20 spirit check with a D8. For those uninitiated with Savage Worlds, that's a 1/8 1/8 4/8 chance. Or 1/128th roll. 1 out of 128 isn't that bad, as we've all seen back-to-back 20s or 1s, which is a 1/400 chance. But the difference is, if I missed this check, my character would have been possessed by an all-powerful demon, and lead to a near-certain party wipe. It's incredibly rare for the fate of the party to rest on a single roll, rarer still for the check to be so difficult. We could have played that game 100 times, and this would have been the only time we didn't all die and make new characters. The next game though, my legendary character got shot in the face by a level 1 zombie and died. Good old Savage Worlds. Haven't had to bring this up in quite a while, but without a doubt it's the green dice. The green dice are a pair of 25-plus-year-old D10s that I happened once upon a time to grab to make a quick percentile roll and have since gone on to live in infamy. I'm pretty certain they're possessed by something with a cruel sense of humor and a flair for the dramatically appropriate but highly improbable. To this day just the sight of them makes players at my table react like someone's brandishing a weapon. The green dice pretty much single-handedly destroyed my entire first campaign world. So the tale of the green dice, this took place in 2nd ed. During the final conflict with the extraplanar Beg and his armies, I had a PC get their sword of sharpness +5 get broken while dueling back and forth through an open planar gate. We used rules that broken magical items could explode catastrophically. I grabbed 2 random D10s from my bowl of dice to check the result. And unintentionally changed how my games worked forever. The explosion alone would have been bad for the party, but on 8 die rolls determining the scope and impact of the event, the green dice rolled 5 consecutive 00 results, a 99, and 2 more naughties. It was along the lines of, okay, for starters, magnitude of the explosion, 01, nothing, 00, catastrophic, okay, now what planes are covered by the explosion, 01 harmless, 00 worst possible, okay. So where in the abyss did this explosion occur? Player 1 pipes up with isn't Beg's fortress in the abyss? Player 2, yeah, and doesn't he have that supermassive cache of enchanted arms and armor he's been equipping the army with, plus his extra-dimensional store for his personal magic items and such? Oh. Me, or fuck? Etc. etc. The cascade explosions eventually erupt through a different planar rift that the Beg was using to bring in his invading armies through. The end result did what was ruled as cataclysmic planetary damage to the surface of the world. With all the creep multipliers and compound explosions, I believe we calculated it out to about 3.5 million damage to the surface of the planet. I actually had to redraw the maps of the campaign world to deal with the supermassive crater, adjusting sea levels to compensate, etc. It was very nearly a global extinction event. But you see, at the last, I decided to roll the green dice one last time to determine the percentage of the good guys' armies and forces that were vaporized in this world-ruining catastrophe. After these last 8 rolls, I called it out loud, whatever I rolled would be the percentage of their allied forces that were destroyed, surely, another 00, right? Nope. 01. A single low-level soldier fell into the gaping chasm that had run up precisely to the feet of the armies of light, and with an echoing Wilhelm scream, he vanished into the lava below. The green dice now live in a small bag of their very own, and I've almost never used another percentile set since when DMing. A few sessions ago, we went around the table rolling 20s. 2 players rolled double 20s, and 1 player rolled triple 20s. Just last session though, I had to make 3 stealth checks with disadvantage and got 20 and 1, 20 and 2, 20 and 3. Not that it matters, but the 20s were all on the same die. Player was playing a barbarian and we're on roll 20, and for the ease when advantage and disadvantage comes we roll 2 dice per attack roll. When fighting and swinging twice, the barbarian rolled, after modifiers, 4 16s, which is a 1 in 160,000 chance. Another time when testing macros, my friend had rolled his long sword, rolled 2 nat 1s with a +6, making it 7, and rolled a total of 7 on the damage roll. Couple of weeks ago my party was fighting a villain from a party member's backstory. My character was a gunslinger archetype fighter and hers was a paladin. We were fighting against a fighter type with a ton of magical items, including a crystal that distributed any magic damage he takes to his underlings. I decided to shoot the crystal to bits in order to give our spellcasters a shot. Rolled 7 natural 20s over the course of the first 3 rounds of the fight. Our paladin decided to fight him head on. Rolled 4 natural 1s. The kicker. Since I was aiming at crystal, not him, I was dealing half damage. I did over 150 damage in the first 3 rounds at level 7, and I didn't drop him. If I'd aimed at his head, I would've. It wasn't in D&D, this happened in Fantasy Age. I was playing a mage/fighter hybrid who used Slot of Earth and plant-based magic. We were jumping off a ship which was capsizing and my character thought he could swim the distance instead of waiting for the boat which was being sent to save us. I rolled poorly for swimming, which if you didn't know, Fantasy Age rolls 3d6 for checks and stuff. 3 ones is considered a crit fail, 3 sixes a crit success, and after 2 failed rolls where I slowly got pulled by a current I rolled 3 ones. The DM described the feeling of 1,000 knives diving into my leg as a shark tore my leg off. I was rescued by the boat and pulled into the friendly ship we were making for, and at this point my character was slipping away from bleeding out. As a last-ditched effort, the party was trying to get a healing potion from the cabin. I pulled out a...
Hey there, fantasy fans. If you're looking for an epic listen, you have to check out Rosamund Pike's narration of the Wheel of Time audiobook. Rosamund Pike brings so much life to Robert Jordan's world. Her performance adds an extra layer of depth to the characters, making the story even more immersive. Whether it's her portrayal of the fearless Aes Sedai or the intense magical battles, she nails it. It's like experiencing the Wheel of Time in a whole new way. And here's the best part. You can get it for free with Audible's 30-day trial of Audible Plus. You'll get access to this incredible audiobook and more, completely free for a month. So if you're ready to dive into this massive fantasy world, this is the perfect way to start. Don't miss out. Check the link below and start your journey today. 100% free for qualifying people. Completely free. Click the link.
Potion, which my character was told was a healing potion, but I knew it wasn't, and he chugged it, believing it to be a healing potion. It turns out it was a potion of wild growth, a spell used to grow plants and stuff, which is supposed to be poured into a plant to use its effect, and the DM had me roll to see how it affected me. 3 sixes. We RP'd that my training in earth and nature-based magic allowed me to force the magic into my leg, and I grew a wooden leg, complete with toes. TLDR, rolled 3 ones with 3d6 on a swim check, lost my leg, then rolled 3 sixes on 3d6 to bend magic fertilizer into a new leg. Still my favorite moment. To save a lot of time after a dragon fight in which the dragon decided instead to take out his fury on the town, I had the players roll a d100 to determine how much of the population they were able to save. One of my players volunteers for the role, and rolls a 1. Luckily, due to some other circumstances and bonuses, it was boosted up to saving 26% of the town. One of my players' clerics went down 3 times pretty quickly after each other, and 2 of the times he rolled a d20 to pop back up. There's a homebrew life connection he and another player's rogue has, and on the cleric's d20 the rogue, who was down, could roll a d20. On a 20, he received a saving throw success. He rolled a 20. The party otherwise would have tipped, I'm pretty sure. One NPC I run in my game called Siegfried has gotten ones for roughly 75% of his rolls in and out of combat. The first time he met the party, he rolled consecutive ones to lob his sword and lose it, before breaking it the next turn after fetching it. This session, a few sessions later, he was back, and again on the first round of combat rolled a 1, losing his first sword in the process. I had given him 2 because I was rightfully suspicious of his rolling. He then proceeded to kill nothing and ended up dying after rolling double 1s for death save. I am going to bring him back via resurrection because he's been so hilarious and light-hearted for my player's tongue. Only 4 sessions in, so not too much experience, but our party's elf warlock has rolled a natural 20 on every religion check she has made. We have determined that she wrote a book on the earth cult. 4 sessions, 4 nat 20 religion checks. Or the party's elf monk rolling 2 natural 20s in a row on one opponent. Luckily I had raged with my bear totem, so it didn't do much. Yaping making into party strife. One of my players was fighting some undead and critically failed on an attack roll, causing her to drop her weapon. The undead all converged on her and one got her with a chill touch while her health was low, but as a paladin she had advantage on the save. 2 ones. She died. Maybe not the craziest, but surely my favorite. My super persuasive bard, in disguise of course, nerd face, while talking to a covenant of necromancers, pretended to be their leader. I RP'd the hell out of it, rolled 2 nat 20s, and convinced them to immolate themselves for our god. My DM loved it, hugging face. Sadly my best dice roll exists outside of D&D. I was playing Zombicide and had leather armor on. Enemies miss you if you roll a 5/6 on a d6. I rolled 12 successes in a row while sitting on 1 horsepower in a scenario that required everyone to survive. For anyone who wants to know, we still lost because the party came to my aid and ended up dying saving my dumbass. I think I've told this story once before, or if I haven't, I'm ashamed of myself. My husband has weird luck in games, D&D especially. He's known for his characters suddenly critting everything the moment they reach near death, but there was one moment with his first rogue that was the crowning jewel. Our DM had granted our party weapons which were enchanted to allow us to immediately make an extra basic weapon attack upon scoring a critical hit. The rogue and bard are in a hallway, at the end of which are several archers with bowstrings drawn ready to fire as soon as anything steps into clear view. I think there was 4 archers. The bard teleports, bringing the rogue with her right up in front of the archers to get the jump on them, and the rogue gets to work attacking the closest one. Natural 20. He deals enough damage to kill the archer in 1 hit and, with the enchanted bonus attack from his weapon, moves on to the next archer. Natural 20, second dead archer. He moves to the 3rd archer. Natural 20. 3 archers are dead and the 4th archer the DM rules as either stunned or frightened, can't remember which, before the rogue and bard finish him off. Friday I had probably the most insane string of rolls ever. My Avenger in 4e crits on 19 to 20 and usually rolls with advantage, so he usually has a 19/100th chance to crit, started a combat with double 20s on a boss, then went 19/20, then 19/19, then 19/18, then 19/7, then 21 and ended it with 19/20. Turned what was supposed to be a hard fight into a huge cinematic moment for my character who very much dislikes the character we were fighting. Odds on the crits were 6.190247 7% including the 1/400 chance of double 20s if my math is correct. TLDR, double 20s into 5 consecutive crits on following turns. At a D&D session a few months ago, we were all sitting around a shitty table in a friend's basement. I'm stuck between our comically large friend who, naturally, plays a dwarf. Thorgrim Eberson, Paladin of Moradin. Stand-up guy. Other side, an awkward friend of ours playing a naive half-elven cleric named Lysana. I played a human blood hunter, grumbling, old and not all too charismatic. Anyway, I let my more holy friends do most of the talking as we turned in the quest for the head of a manticore. And in my boredom, I picked up my 2 sets of dice in one hand, and dropped them all on the table. 13 out of the 14 dice rolled their highest possible roll. 1d20 decided not to join the party. The whole table stopped talking and looked over, and we all sort of shared a moment of silence. It was a pretty great night. Also, we later embarked on a quest to kill the Emperor who paid us to kill that manticore. Turned out to be a gold dragon. Strange bedfellows. I have a stealth archer who really loves to shoot party members or crit the hell out of a random grunt with 10 horsepower left. In the same camine, this is a homemade zombie apocalypse realistic set in the medieval era. The party came across a bandit camp with a rope bridge suspending over a river with a fall that could hurt but could certainly not kill anyone. And our tank knight who lifted an entire tree with his bare hands couldn't even push a guard standing on the bridge. After that, our archer who accidentally put points into strength attempted to throw the same guard off of the bridge and wound up throwing himself over the guard and held onto the bridge for dear life the entire boss fight as the bandit boss crit our tank for 50 damage with a 6 damage bleed for the next few turns. Tank only has 70 horsepower, This was one crazy night with surprisingly no PC deaths. Probability isn't always what it seems. Good idea. Here's the cursed dice in question, bit hard to test this out with a D4 though. But shouldn't matter, this dice was from the official starter pack. The important thing to note with a D4 is, did it always go to the 4 down? If that's the case on a D4, it's weighted against rolling a 4. D4 are tricky since they are weighted against a number versus towards a number, so assuming it is balanced against 4, it is to say you are more likely to roll a non-4 than rolling a 4. So what should be a 1/4 chance of rolling a 1, 2 or 3 is probably more like a 1.25 chance of rolling a non-4, where each non-4 would be increased by 0.25, leaving 25/4 or 1/16 to roll a 4, completely hypothetical numbers. So basically, buy new dice, go for clear ones and don't let bad dice rule your RNG. This Friday, I thought I was gonna have my first TPK as 2 of my 3 players entered death saving throws while fighting a blood hag. But the remaining player, a rogue rolling short bow attacks with disadvantage because she was bleeding from both eyes, managed to win several ghastly games of hide and seek and rolled astonishingly well on her disadvantaged attacks, then rolled a crit on the first round after her blindness ended. That's 8d6 damage with the sneak attack dice. Everyone survived, and we told the player that D&D isn't really a game of winning or losing, but she definitely won. In our 3.5 campaign, we were fighting some slimes that do ability drain and they have insane grapple checks. One of our party members, Barbarian, was trapped by one, and the DM basically told us it was only success possible to break free on a max versus min roll in the Barbarian's favor. And they were about to die of con damage. And would I know, slime rolls a 1 on grapple check, and Barbarian rolls a 20 to get free. But that's not all. Our paladin decides to go in and fight it basically solely, and ends up blocking every hit, 3 per round, and taking it down by himself over the course of 6 rounds. I played with this one player who had amazing luck. He seemed to average like a 17 on his dice and always rolled well when it counted. Then one day I realized he never actually showed the results of his dice rolls. Now whenever I see these stories I wonder if they are legit or if there is a cheater involved. I was making a character in a 2nd edition game, literally 2 decades ago. I was a fighter and rolled for percentile strength. My first dice was a 0 and the DM was like, "Oh, that's too bad." I rolled again and got a 0, a 000, which is basically the best possible score. I've never beaten that since. Not in D&D, but in a Civil War tabletop. I had maneuvered cannons with grape shot directly into the enemy's flank. Normally you rolled 2d6 damage for this cannon, with all 1s blowing up the cannon and making it useless. All 6s meant you used up all your gunpowder and needed to reload, but you still had done 12 damage, so way worth it. I needed to do about 10 damage to wipe out the formation I was firing into, and flanking and grape shot gave me 3 extra dice for a total of 5d6. Rolled 5 1s, cannon blew up, lost the whole battle despite significantly outmaneuvering my opponent. 1 in about 8,000 odds. Not D&D but Rollmaster. In that game you roll D100 as a percentage. If you roll a particularly high number it's considered open-ended and you roll again, adding it to the previous number. Once you find out what your attack number is you consult a chart to find out what the critical was. This game, by the way, was parodied in Knights of the Dinner Table as Hackmaster, which then became its own game. So we were just getting through to the big bad monster boss and my halfling rogue with a pretty good bow skill sees the giant beast rear up and bellow its challenge to the sky. I rolled my attack and got a 99 followed by a 100, which made my attack roll somewhere near the 300 point level. I roll the crit, and get another 100. The big bad monster boss rears up and catches a arrow right in the eye, dying instantly. The whole campaign had come to this moment and it was just over. The henchman had been a more difficult fight. So, of course, the GM had another big bad monster boss like there was supposed to be two of them the entire time. But we knew better, Mark. We knew better. My roguelock about to cast a fireball 10 feet in front of him to the inside of an evil magical hut, looks to his paladin and fighter on either side and shouts, "Get ready." Paladin rolls dex save. Natural 20. Fighter rolls dex save. Natural 20. All players flip out in excitement. DM looks at me and says, "If you roll a 20. I drop the dice." Natural 20. We all flip out again. Some things are just meant to be. In my first campaign I played a wizard who used only damaging spells as part of his backstory. I cast Fireball at one point, an 86 usually, but I was casting 2 levels higher than usual, so 10d6. All 3 opponents crit failed their saving throws, then I rolled 10 sixes. I'm pretty new to the game, but even I have seen double ones on a pair of d20. In our last session a spellcaster used magic missile with a 3rd level slot, so had to roll 5d4 for damage and scored a 1 each time. The odds of this are 1024-1 or 0.097655625%. I drew this picture to commemorate the occasion. I'm sure experienced players have seen way more crazy rolls than this, so please tell us.
Hey adventurers! Today I'm super excited to share my thoughts on Keys from the Golden Vault, the thrilling new D&D sourcebook that's all about heists. If you're into clever planning, stealthy maneuvers, and daring escapes, this book is for you. What I love most is that it's packed with heist adventures for every level, so whether you're a new party or seasoned veterans, there's always a perfect challenge waiting. The artwork in this book? Absolutely stunning. It's not only vibrant and detailed, but it's also incredibly inclusive, showcasing diverse characters and settings that truly reflect the world of D&D today. It makes it even more fun to dive into these scenarios with my group to have this beautiful book in hand. And let me tell you, running these heists with my tabletop crew has been an absolute blast. The creativity, the tension, the out-of-the-box thinking, it keeps everyone on their toes and coming back for more. So if you're looking to spice up your D&D sessions, Keys from the Golden Vault is a must-have. Trust me, you won't regret it. Now go plan that perfect heist. Link in the description. Just go to the description and click the link and buy the book.